Welcome to the lesson on the structure section of the paper-based TOEFL test. My name is Martin Hodge from the English Language Institute, and what we're going to do is run through a set of 40 sentences which are typical of what you might find on the actual TOEFL test. The structure section consists of 40 sentences and is divided into two parts. In sentences 1 through 15, you are trying to find the correct answer. And in sentences 16 through 40, you are trying to find the mistake. In these videos, I will present example sentences. Feel free to pause the video to see if you can solve the problem. Then, when you resume the video, I will explain the answer. As you go through these sentences, you will begin to notice grammar patterns. And don't get discouraged if you find that these sentences are difficult. This test is made to be very tricky, and even a native speaker can be tricked or even make a mistake. So let's go to our first example and see if we can solve it. Number 1. Based on the premise that light was composed of color, the Impressionists came to the conclusion not really black. Okay, well, let's go through the sentence and just look at the vocabulary. Now, if you don't understand what the word premise is, it just simply means idea, based on the idea that light was composed of color. And then Impressionists, even if you don't really know what that is, you can see it starts with an uppercase letter, so it's the name of something or some group of people. So if you don't know exactly who those people are, you really don't have to worry about it. Just know that this is a noun. So let's go to choice A and see if that is the correct answer. So let's take a look here. Which was that shadows? Well, we've kind of got two problems here. First of all, this is a connector to a subordinate clause. But this could also be a connector to a subordinate clause. So we would have two of those and no verb over here, and this would be kind of strange. Assuming that this is a noun, there is a verb to shadow. The other problem is that if this is a demonstrative adjective, like this, that, these, and those, well, the word that really doesn't work with shadows. It would probably have to be something like this, which was those shadows, but that's not really going to work in this sentence. So let's go to choice B. Based on the premise that light was composed of color, the Impressionists came to the conclusion was shadows which not really black. Oh, well, after the word which, we really should have a verb, and we don't have anything like that. We don't have a verb. Maybe something like this could have worked. Was shadows which were not really black, but that still makes a very strange sentence if you read that. So as you can see, choice B is completely wrong. Just by looking and seeing, oh, there's no verb here, this word which is not really going to work. That should eliminate this answer immediately. Let's go to C. Were shadows not really black? Oh, this sets up what looks like a question format, right? We have this verb in plural, we have the subject in plural, were shadows not really black, and that's exactly what they've done here. They have basically set up a question format, and they do that a lot on the TOEFL test. They'll occasionally put one of the answers in a question format just to come up with another answer. Many times in the TOEFL test, the wrong answers would work in other situations. I think choice A is one of them that would not work in any situation. But B and C would work somewhere else. So we're left with choice D, and there it is. Based on the premise that light was composed of color, the Impressionists came to the conclusion that shadows were not really black. And there it is. And just to give you a little side note, because this will also help you save time, These are very common expressions in English, and you'll see them a lot on the TOEFL test. To come to the conclusion, kind of means to realize something after an investigation, for example. So to come to the conclusion that, to realize that, to believe that, to know that, to understand that, to say that. These are very common in the English language, also on the TOEFL test. And their passive counterparts may be also seen. It is realized that, it is believed that, it is known that. This is very common. It is known that, it is understood that, it is said that. You'll see these quite a bit on the TOEFL test. Alright, so that one's done. That ended up being choice D. Let's go to number 2. Blank, a parliamentary system. The Prime Minister must be appointed on the basis of the distribution of power in the Parliament. Alright, so a parliament, hopefully you know what that is. A parliament is kind of a way of running a government, a parliamentary system, the kind they use in England and Spain. But let's go through the answers and see what we've got. So let's check out A. The considered a parliamentary system. Now that should immediately raise a suspicion that this is the wrong answer. If you look, we have 2 articles and only 1 noun or 1 subject, whatever. The considered a parliamentary system. It doesn't really work here. The considered parliamentary system, I guess, could work somewhere else, but definitely A is the wrong answer. Let's take a look at choice B. To be considered a parliamentary system, the Prime Minister must be appointed on the basis of the distribution of power in the Parliament. And there we go. We've got the right answer. This is a very common way to start a sentence in English. And I'm going to show you what it really is. It's just short for in order to be considered a parliamentary system. So what this is saying is, in order for this clause to be true, this clause must be true. And if you look at it, you see the Prime Minister must be appointed on the basis of the distribution of power in order for it to be a parliamentary system. So this has to be true, so this one is true. So this is a very common setup in English. If you see a sentence that starts with an infinitive, that's probably the type of sentence it is. If you go to choice C, considering a parliamentary system, well, considering a parliamentary system, you'd have to have something that kind of goes along the line with the same thinking, the same thought. And if you have this sentence, like, considering a parliamentary system, the people are thinking of choosing a new form of government, that might work, but it doesn't really work here. The other one where you might see this gerund is if you're setting up a noun clause. Considering a parliamentary system is necessary. And here the gerund is just setting up a noun clause, and then we have a verb. But here we don't even have a place for a verb. So C is definitely out. And then D should have been pretty simple to get. Considers a parliamentary system. Well, where's our subject? We don't have our subject. We got our object, we got our verb, we don't have our subject, so D is definitely out. So this one is choice B for sure. Now I've run out of time, so we'll see you in the next video.